I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring the complex journey of grief and healing with Dr. Jim Gordon, author of Grief and Loss, The Start We Call the End, with editing by Betty DeGeneres. This powerful self-help book offers guidance, comforting words, and actionable insights for anyone navigating the challenges of loss, whether it's the death of a loved one or the end of a significant chapter in life. Dr. Gordon's compassionate approach helps readers find strength in their own pain and discover a way forward through the toughest of times. We're delighted to welcome back this very talented author and guest. We'd like to thank the folks at Prime 7 Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his powerful book. The links are below this interview. Doctor, great to see you here today on Spotlight. Thanks for joining us once again.
Welcome. We're here. I'm sitting in beautiful downtown West Hollywood right now. My office is in Beverly Hills, but doing most everything from my home studio since I do so much Zoom stuff now. Just changing the view up here so we can see me too. Uh, okay, there we are.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
Zoom is a new way of life. Soon, nobody will meet each other ever. It'll all be computer mediated during Zoom meetings. But
yeah, I'm finding a lot of depression in people. I mean, I've been Zooming since the 16th of um, March 2020 when we got shut out and I was in Paris heading back. So I had to do my groups from Zoom there, and now we've been officially on Zoom. Yeah, and there's a difference. I've kept my office in Beverly Hills just so that I can go over there once a week to prove I'm still alive and real. Uh, I don't, here is okay, but it's not so great when you just see the cats in the hallway and whatever. It's a little quieter than in the middle of the city.
exactly. Zoom is better, and these computerized meetings and teleconferences are better than not meeting at all, and probably
Right.
better than a phone call too, because can at least read facial expressions. But nothing beats the human touch. So down the road, for sure, we're going to have to do an in-person interview to show that's true. But today, let's talk a little bit about grief and loss. When you lose something, whether it's someone you love, someone dear to you, or even your career, there's a sense of devastation within the person. Um, what are the first steps to getting better, to recovering? Is it to let yourself go through the gamut of emotions first?
Yeah, my argument in the book is actually Betty DeGeneres is the one that got me motivated about 15 years ago when she lost her older sister. And we were sitting at breakfast, and she said, since she's part of the entertainment industry, or her daughter was particularly, she said, a lot of times people hang out with us because of the connection, not because of us personally. And she used the phrase that I remind myself all the time now is that, who will really cry when I die? In other words, are they going to miss me for me? Are they going to miss me for different reasons? And so we have to process all sorts of feelings out. But I also say a long ways into the book that if there's people that are really special to you when they're alive, they're probably still special to you when they're gone. Um, there's a lot of people that we just kind of pass over. In the book, I talk about it used to be dead men in my Rolodex, but we don't use Rolodexes anymore. So it's now dead people in my phone directory. I was looking through when I fly a lot. I'm going to Europe tomorrow, and I'll look through my phone directory and decide contacts. Okay, who can I move? Who can I not? But as I mentioned in the book, there's people that you'll look at and you think, I don't want them out of my life. I may get sad for a second when I realize they're gone, but then I also smile when I think of the good times. When there's a name in there that I see and I'm thinking, who the hell was that? Then that one's probably okay to get rid of. Okay. Um, and this is where you have the right to feelings. PTSD hits some of us more.
Mm.
Last time we talked, and I remind you again here in the book that I've dealt with terminal illnesses, majorly working with the AIDS stuff in 1985 to 90, and then stroke unit until 2004. So I've told somewhere around 4,000 people they were, on their way out in terminal. In fact, right now, my brother-in-law is in that spot back east, and I flew back to see him a couple of weeks ago. The other day he called me and he says, "Hey," he said, "they just told me I have 1 to 3 days." Well, now he's made a week and a half. And I said, just keep rolling and just the hell with it and just figure, you're not ready. So damn it, you're not going. And he called last night sounding really perky. And he's not going to make it, but at the same time, he's been dealing with cancer. He's in his 60s. We have to feel the feelings. And a lot of times I deal with, turning a short answer into a long one for you again, Logan, but I deal with the domestic violence stuff all the time, primarily in entertainment industry, high-end people here, what I call the narcissists of narcissists in Beverly Hills. And a lot of them takes a while for them to realize they're human and mortal. You know, my a lot of the guys that come in the group are still, they're actors, musicians, rappers, doctors, lawyers, business people, international business people, and they're like, "But I'm the man. Men are supposed to be respected. Men are not supposed to get busted for domestic violence, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you're still mortal. You're still human." What's kind of cool, I had a doctor recently who's a very high-end physician, and he came in and he got choked up for the morning group one day. And he said, he comes from a Middle Eastern country. He said where he was, basically a Mensa type person, top notch, became a doctor, came here, and he said when he got busted for domestic violence, which people don't always realize, domestic violence is not always physical. Okay. It's more, particularly for my end of the people, it's more verbal, financial, emotional when you say things to people. And he said, when I got busted for domestic violence, I felt like a complete failure. And I thought, oh my God, I'm an idiot. And then he said, I'm in here, sitting here in the group and looking at the other people on the screen and that, and realizing we have, attorneys, doctors, musicians, billionaires, people that are really on top of it. And he said, I'm not the only idiot, but he said, I guess it's not because I'm an idiot. It's because of the fact I'm mortal and human. And I said, yeah, in the medical field, you really realize at some point you're mortal. Even, I teach at the Mount St. Mary's University and we have nursing. And the nursing kids are some of the first ones to realize they're human as they sit there and they're being taught how to take care of a patient, but the patient still dies or they can't save them. And they're, wow, I'm human. So, but for a lot of other people, as long as you can show them your Maserati that's parked out front and your, 4-bedroom, 8-bath house, which is classic here in Hollywood and Beverly Hills, you have double the bathrooms for the number of bedrooms because your family's coming and visiting thing. And that tells them they're perfect and they're wonderful. But the truth is, it's really kind of nice when people respect you for you, which goes back to the Betty comment. She said a lot of her older friends started to be more and more friendly, but then wanted to do something with the kid in the industry, entertainment industry. And she realized they weren't there for her.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's important. And I think we all have feelings. And if
Yeah.
you don't have feelings, I also remind the guys in the domestic violence groups and everything else, it takes a lot of strength to be gentle. It takes a lot of guts to be able to say, I made a mistake. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of strength for a man to throw the car in park and say, maybe I need to do this differently next time.
Yeah. Advice. Betty DeGeneres, who is your editor, worked with you on the book, read the drafts and so forth, is Ellen DeGeneres' mother for the folks who are viewing at home and want to get cued in on the conversation a little bit.
Sorry. Yes.
Um, but it's an interesting point that you made that, when you're in Hollywood or in any place of prominence, you really don't know who your friends are because people kind of want to latch onto you for a myriad of reasons sometimes, and that can be disheartening, right?
When I travel, I always wear, I've shown you this before, but my Pink Floyd
Freud, the dark
hoodie.
side of your mom. I
Yeah.
love it.
And the reason why I do that, and that's Freud's picture on there, not me. Um, but I like to interact, and I
Mm,
wear this a lot. I have a couple of them, black one and two black ones in this one. But people, when I'm on the plane, it's and I'm flying by myself, it's nice to connect with people. For me, other people just
mm,
want to hide. I like to connect.
yeah.
And as soon as they say, "Oh, what's that?" I said, "Well, I'm an entertainment shrink in the Beverly Hills area, and blah 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 blah." I do it partly to connect and partly to see what their responses are. And some of them immediately are like, "Oh my God, I need to come out and meet you. I need to make it an entertainment. I need to make it in this and that and another thing." And they're not there for, the interest. They're there for what I could do for them. And I
Mm,
know that. I have friends, that come here from France to see me. I remember picking up one at the airport one day and I said, "Hey, um, if I weren't here in West Hollywood and Beverly Hills, would you have flown over from Paris?" And the person first said, "Oh, no." And then said, "Oops." He said, "The truth is," he said, "I've been offered many times to come to New York to go to Paris." He happened to turn out to be a Prada model
mm,
and eventually, and thanks to me. But he said, "It's different," because he said, "You've been nice." And he
mm.
said, "I trust you and we can just visit." So that helps.
Cool. Yeah. If you know you have a good impact on a person like that, that's very, very
Yeah.
encouraging to know that you're fostering true and real relationships. For the person who is heartbroken, though, what's your best advice to them to, they've lost their mother, they've lost their sister, they've lost a spouse. Um, what do you do at a time like that? Let's say you're not the counselor, let's say you're their best friend.
No, no. Uh, Again, I have to run you around a little bit and not directly answer, but one of the first things I say to people when they talk about a big loss is, I hope you were able to say the things to the person before you lost them. And to me, that's extremely important. And if the person's able to turn around, like my brother-in-law in Jersey
Mm,
right now, or actually North Carolina, I even flew back. We talked. We've been talking pretty much every other day when he's got the energy.
mm,
Um, the day that he expires, I've done what I can do. I'm human. I'm mortal. I can't bless you and say, "Okay, you're going to be fine." But I know that I've done what I can do. And in the book, I refer to the fact that funerals and memorial services are really there for the living, not for the dead, because the dead can't hear you at that point. So I hope that you've done whatever you need to do ahead of time. Okay, so
good
if
advice.
if they say, "Yeah, I talked to them, I visited them, I was with them, I loved them," cool. I said, "Now you have the right to miss them and feel
Yeah.
bad, and whatever you need to do." When I lost my partner 31 years ago, that I'd been with the longest time, uh, I did a memorial trip. Flew back east because we were from the East Coast, although we were living out here and met out here. I flew back there, spent time with the family, did a memorial service in Tuxedo Park, if you know where Tuxedo
Yeah, I
Park,
do, as a matter of
kind of
fact.
fancy and nice.
The home of
And
the Renaissance Fair.
yeah, and then I took the train up to Toronto and then took a train ride across, this is in the wintertime, train ride across Canada. Uh, and somebody in the dining car at one point said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm on a bereavement tour." And they're like, "What?"
Mm,
And I said, "Well, I lost my partner." And I said, "I need to have some time to think about it and let it all sink in."
yeah,
So we have to let it sink in, and whatever it is, for some of us, it's driving out to the ocean here. And
yeah,
if that was a special place, or going out to the mountains, or going up on the roof and looking at the stars, whatever it is, but
yeah.
you have to let it go through. One of the worst things is when doctors give people medication to hide the pain,
Yeah.
because the pain's going to be there later.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's a nice tribute to take a little road trip by yourself to just get your thoughts, your feelings together to connect.
Sure.
I can almost picture you on that lonely train ride, out through the Canadian wilderness. It seems like a good place to mourn the loss of somebody you loved. So that's a
It
good
was
tradition.
winter, it was quiet, it was snow all the way. It was kind of cool.
Sounds what you need, you know.
Yeah,
That sounds what you do. You got to do for yourself what you need at that time, you
exactly.
know.
Take care of
And
you, the you and you, as Mr. Rogers always used to say.
yeah,
It's not all the fancy clothes you have, the fancy car you have, whatever. It's the you and you that we care about, and it's the you and you that you got to take care of.
absolutely great advice. As far as this book goes, how do you envision people using it? Reading it when they've lost someone, reading it when they're in fear of losing someone, how do you envision this book being used as a tool to help people deal with their grief and loss?
To me, there's poems in there and thoughts and whatever. And the last chapter is called It's a Wrap, and it's like talking about things you shoulda, woulda, coulda done.
Hmm.
And we're not just talking about the loss of a person. You said, you probably remember quoting from the last time we did this, but loss is when things happen, when you turn, uh, you know, 40 and you're no longer in your 30s, or when you turn 30 and you're no longer in your 20s, when you leave the university. I teach at the university every year in the spring is awkward because the students are like, oh, I'm done as a student now. I have to go out into the real world. Uh-huh.
Right.
Those are losses. Okay.
Yeah. Loss of
When
a
you,
job. I've cried over that.
yeah, no, big loss of jobs, loss of
Yeah.
careers,
Yeah.
loss of, LA. A friend of mine came yesterday. He said, you guys are still a little bit on the depression side. And he flies for Air France. And I said, yeah, it's really dead here because in the spring, we would have what we called pilot season, where everybody would come to try the shows out to do different things. Okay. Now that's not happening because you can audition online, you can do Zoom, you have Netflix working all over the world. You don't always have to go to the studios. It's quite quiet. Where my office is on South Beverly Drive, the original Cheesecake Factory #1 is there, and Cheesecake Factory, California Pizza Kitchen across the street, #1. Both of them have been in situations where the management said, if these weren't the first stores, we probably have to let them go.
Hmm.
But we have to keep our first store because the entertainment industry that was around us, all the management companies and all the agents and that, you don't need to go to an agent anymore. You know,
I
you
used to go to casting offices and there'd be
yes.
20 guys that looked just like me in there, all up for the same role. And you would chat with them, you'd talk with them, you'd have relationships with them, you'd get to meet the casting directors, they'd give you insights on this and that, on your performance. And now it's just like this. You look into the camera in your home studio, and it's very convenient. It saves you a lot of time, and you can be anywhere in the US or the world, but it is very antisocial and it is very disconnected from humanity.
What you just said, my friend Mel Stewart, who expired about 7 or 8 years ago, but he did the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder. And we were talking one day because I had done a movie called Zombie Bankers, which sold maybe 20 copies. And but when we did the movie and that, and some of the kids from the NYU would come out here, is where we filmed it up in Albany area. And one of the guys said, "Oh, Mel." He said, he's a great producer. I want to talk to him. So we did. And Mel said to him, just what you're saying. He said, remember, he said, you have to have a bunch of things to know whether you have it. But he said, one of the things is remembering when you go for an audition, there's going to be 300 people probably out for the same thing. But what do you bring that's special? Is it a little bit of a smile? Is it a little bit of a personality? Is it a comfortableness that directors connect? You know, there's something special. I mean, again, as an old guy, I have a lot of young people I hang out with, and I'm like, why are you hanging out with me? And they're like, wisdom sometimes is kind of cool to hang out with,
It's a nice compliment,
not
you know.
just looks, you know.
Yeah, it's nice to be around people who've lived a life and have something to say. And certainly you're that guy, Jim, on so many different levels, from your work in Hollywood as a doctor, as a performer, and in the arts in general. Let's